Imagine this, a king, not just any king, but a guy who thought he was invincible, orders his entire army, every single soldier, to march into battle completely naked, no armor, no shields, just raw, exposed flesh. You're probably thinking, what the hell kind of strategy is this? But trust me, this is no joke. This king's belief was so deep, so unshakable, that it changed the course of history. But what's the real story behind it? And what happened when his army went up against an enemy they were supposed to crush? Stick around until the end, because the truth behind this order is going to blow your mind. Ready? Let's dive into the unbelievable tale of the king who thought fighting naked would make him invincible. Let me introduce you to King Gilgamesh, the ruler of the Sumerian kingdom. Gilgamesh wasn't your average king. In fact, he wasn't even a normal human in his eyes. He believed he was a god, divinely chosen to lead. His soldiers, they weren't just his army, they were his chosen warriors, destined to be as invincible as the gods themselves. And that's where it gets crazy. Gilgamesh thought armor was for the weak. He believed that fighting without any protection would make his men feel like gods themselves, unbeatable, unstoppable, and fearless. What if I told you he believed that nakedness would make them stronger? More freedom, more speed, more power. His theory was that if the soldiers fought bare, they would become a force of nature, one so powerful that not even weapons could touch them. Sounds insane, right? Like, what could go wrong? Now the stage is set, Battle of Pankai, a major confrontation. Gilgamesh's forces were up against a fierce enemy that had been threatening his rule. But here's the twist. As Gilgamesh's soldiers appeared on the battlefield, there was silence for a moment. The enemy stared in disbelief. What they saw in front of them were warriors, completely naked, marching forward without fear. The enemy was frozen. Think about it. How would you feel if you were facing down an army of men who weren't even wearing armor, not a shield in sight, no swords protecting their vital organs, just pure naked aggression? For the enemy, it was like facing a myth. These warriors weren't just men, they were gods in their eyes. And that fear, that psychological shock, is what gave Gilgamesh's army the upper hand. The truth, it wasn't just about physical strength, it was about psychological power. Gilgamesh knew that by having his army fight naked, they'd disarm the enemy mentally before the first blow was even struck. The enemy soldiers couldn't help but question everything they knew about battle. They couldn't understand why these men were so confident. They saw them as untouchable, like gods with nothing to fear. They were disoriented, scared. And when you're afraid of your opponent, it's game over before the fight even starts. But here's where the dark side of Gilgamesh's decision shows itself. Victory came, yes, but at a cost. His soldiers, while invincible in spirit, were now exposed to danger in ways they couldn't even anticipate. Without armor, they became vulnerable to wounds and infection. No armor means no protection against arrows, swords, or even the elements. So yeah, they won. They overwhelmed the enemy, but the victory wasn't as clean as it seemed. Gilgamesh's soldiers, bare and vulnerable, suffered massive injuries. The wounds they sustained weren't just physical, they were mental too. The soldiers who fought so bravely were now left exposed to the harsh realities of war. And it hit hard. They had been invincible in spirit, but the body wasn't so invincible after all. They weren't gods, they were just men. So what happened to Gilgamesh's army after the battle? Did they continue fighting naked, thinking they were gods? Well, no, the cost of that belief became too high. Slowly but surely, armor returned. The king himself had to admit that being a god didn't protect you from the realities of war. Armor was necessary. Here's the real question. Would you ever follow a king who told you to fight naked? Gilgamesh's story is one of hubris, belief, and reality. It's a reminder that no matter how invincible you think you are, reality always has a way of humbling you. Even the gods can fall. Do you think Gilgamesh was a visionary, or was he just insane? Could you ever imagine fighting in such a way? Would you trust a king who ordered you to fight naked, or would you run the other way? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Would you ever fight like that for a king who thought he was a god? If you loved this wild, unbelievable story, smash that subscribe button, hit the bell, and get ready for more insane, mind-blowing tales from the darkest corners of history.